Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Sharang Taimade. I represent Seed Global Education. And today we've got a wonderful panel for each and every one of you. This includes five of the top US universities, NYU Tandon School of Engineering. We've got the George Washington School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. We've got Columbia Universities and their Fu Foundation School of Engineering, Boston University School of Arts and Sciences, and Loyola Marymount University and their School of Engineering. And over the next 1 hour, you will learn about mastering application strategies for top US STEM schools. Yes, so the next 1 hour, you will know a lot of information directly from the mouths or the horse's mouth, as you call it, or from the admission directors themselves about how you can create strong applications helping you get into these top universities. We're already 135 of us in this Zoom meeting. So thank you so much for everyone who's taken out time. Do let us know in the chat which city you are joining in from. We'd like to know a little bit about you. Before we start off with the presentations and the questions, let us know which city you're joining in from. Aditya is joining us from Pune. Use the chat function. A lot of people here from Mumbai, Surat, Kutch in Gujarat, Pune, Mumbai again, Gurgaon. Patrick's here from Ghana, Accra. Munsa is from Pakistan. Welcome. We've got people here from Delhi, Andhra Pradesh, Jammu, Lahore, length and breadth of the country and also outside the country. So thank you so much to each and every one of you. Nepal, Srinagar. Perfect. So we've got people from all over the Indian subcontinent and a few friends here from West Africa as well. Thank you so much to each and every one of you. I'm going to quickly take you through what you can expect over the next 1 hour. In just a couple of minutes, we will invite each of these universities to make a 2 to 3 minute presentation, just an introduction of their respective universities. After that, we'll have these five presentations. After that, I will have some questions for them, which will help you, which talk about how to create a strong application. What are some of the key criteria that they decide if you can get into some of their programs or not? Talking about GRE, talking about SOPs, and the entire hoodoo of admissions. Yes, that's what you can expect over the next 1 hour. Perfect. So without further ado, we are 180 of us in this room already. So, that's a big number. And I'd like to start off with Carrie, my friend from New York University Stanton School of Engineering, who will take us through a little bit about why you should consider NYU and what is NYU all about.
Great, thank you. I'm just going to have a little presentation here for everyone. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Carrie Bowling. I am a Senior Assistant Director within Marketing and Recruitment and Enrollment Management, which just means I work in the admissions office at NYU's Engineering School, the Tandon School of Engineering. To tell you a little bit about us, we are located in New York City. We are actually located in Brooklyn, and where we are in Brooklyn is a real hotspot for tech and innovation. We're kind of in the middle of what we consider Silicon Valley of New York City, and New York City is actually right behind Silicon Valley with all of the tech and innovation companies that are placed throughout our city and throughout the United States. We offer 31 different graduate degree programs across 11 different academic departments. You can see a few of those different departments on the slide here, but of course we have more programs than are what we're able to fit onto the slide. We've been around for quite some time, since 1854, so that's allowed us to really connect with our community and also provides us a lot of prestige with our history. We are also, because New York University is the largest private university in the United States, it affords our students access to a lot of amazing resources, and that includes things like research and funding, but also things that support our students, like our career services. And one of the amazing things that we do is we actually give our students access to a voluntary summer career academy that students can participate in the summer before they start, if they are going to be starting in the fall, to get access to all of the things that our services provide you, so you can be prepared and be able to utilize those for internships and when you graduate. In addition to that, I just want to highlight quickly some of our application requirements and some of the opportunities you all have for scholarship. Any student that's admitted into NYU Tandon will be automatically reviewed for scholarship. So there's no additional scholarship application that you need to fill out. You'll be automatically considered. But scholarships are awarded on academic merit instead of financial need. And so that means your grades are going to be considered. And typically, our scholarships range between $3,000 and $12,000, which are partial scholarships to cover a portion of your tuition costs. To apply, you do need to apply online. For today's event, I'm pretty sure everybody, as well as myself, will be providing an application fee waiver to you. I do highly recommend you check your email in a few days for that, as we will be sending that over. But you just need to provide the standard sort of requirements, which are your transcripts, making sure that you have proof of a bachelor's degree that's equivalent to 4 years of study in the US. So equivalent to a US bachelor's degree, an essay, a resume, recommendation letters, proof of English proficiency. And for us, the GRE for all of our master's programs is currently optional. So it is not required if you're applying to a master's program for next year. You can see our deadlines on the screen. Be sure to get your application in before those. Just to note, you can see that there are two deadlines for master's degrees. There's a priority deadline and a final deadline. The priority deadline really is just for students who want to get their application in earlier so they can get their decision faster and be a part of the first pool of applicants that are reviewed by our faculty. There is no real reason that you have to submit it by that. You're not going to be not considered for scholarship if you wait. Scholarship consideration will happen for both deadlines. So really just pick the deadline that fits you, but whatever deadline you choose, make sure you get your application completed by that time. And then I will be available for questions during the Q&A. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Carrie. That was helpful. That's a little bit about NYU. Before I move on to Catherine, who will be talking about the George Washington School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. A quick reminder for everyone: if you've got questions for these panelists, do use the Q&A tab to ask these questions. You can also get a chance to upvote the questions so that if you would like that particular question to be asked, do ensure you get those questions upvoted so we'll pick their brains and learn something about what you are looking to learn. Catherine, over to you. We'll learn about GW, School of Engineering and Applied Science.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let me open up my PowerPoint. Okay, good evening, everybody. For you guys, it is the morning on the East Coast where a few of us are today. We really appreciate you logging on to hear from us today. So my name is Catherine Hugans. I am an associate director here at the George Washington University, specifically the School of Engineering and Applied Science. We are located in Washington, D.C., and we were founded in 1821 by an act of Congress. I just want to speak a little bit about our location. We are right in the heart of Washington, D.C., which is the capital of the United States. So you can actually see from this map on the upper right-hand corner a good sense of our location. And in that bottom right area where you can see that greenery, that's actually the White House where President Biden currently lives. We're about 5 blocks away from there, 2 blocks away from the World Bank and the IMF and other large international organizations. But for the School of Engineering specifically, we have 6 academic departments, including computer science, electrical and computer engineering, biomedical engineering, mechanical and aerospace engineering, engineering management and systems engineering, and biomedical engineering, which I think I already said, so I'm missing something. We are very proud to have a number of students. Actually, we do have a majority of graduate students at the university. We have about 15,000 students studying at the master's and PhD level and 10,000 students studying at the bachelor's. Our main hub is the Science and Engineering Hall, where we have a bunch of our different lab spaces, including our classes and administration offices. So we have high resolution imaging suites, a class 100 nanofabrication clean room, and a high bay with a strong wall and a strong floor, which is for our civil engineering students, which was the department I was forgetting. You can see a list here of all of the programs that we have to offer at both the master's and PhD level. Just to note that if it says master's only, that means we do not offer the PhD degree. But we do offer scholarships for all of our applicants. At the master's level, these are partial merit tuition discounts. So there's a 25%, a 50%, all the way up to a 75% that would reduce your tuition by that percentage. At the PhD level is where you'll see the more typical full funding through a teaching or research assistantship. These are offered directly by the faculty and the department. So when you apply, you'll be considered for one of these scholarships directly. There is no separate application, so you don't need to worry about that. What I would bring your attention to is that our fall semester deadline is going to be January 15th. For PhD, I would encourage you to try and get things in a little earlier. That priority deadline is going to be December 1st. And for masters, we will continue to accept applications after January 15th. But if you are hoping for any of those funding scholarships that I just talked about, the January 15th deadline is going to be really important for you to keep in mind. And then last, we are GRE optional, so you do not need to submit GRE test scores if you're not interested, but we're happy to talk about that a little bit more later on during the Q&A. Thank you so much, and I'm happy to talk to you more later.
Thank you so much, Catherine. That was insightful about GW. I know these are short presentations, but in case you missed out on something, you can obviously ask the questions in the Q&A tab. You will also share this with some of you that might have come late. Next up, I'd like to invite Emily, who's representing Loyola Marymount University. She has an audience, not just in this session, but also watching elsewhere.
Hi, everyone. Okay, let me share my presentation. Okay, so hi, my name is Emily Agnello. I am here from Loyola Marymount University. We are located in Los Angeles, California. So as you can see from this map, our campus is right there on the west side of Los Angeles. We are right down the road from the Santa Monica Pier and Venice Beach. You also can see the Hollywood sign from the edge of our campus. And we're excited to say now we are right down the road from the 2028 Summer Olympics. So our campus is located in a really happening spot in Los Angeles. We're also right down the road from an area we call Silicon Beach. So up in San Francisco, there's Silicon Valley. Down in LA, there's Silicon Beach. And here there are a lot of tech hubs. So there's Google, Amazon, Yahoo, Meta, everyone has some big offices right down the road from our campus where students get a lot of opportunities to network just solely based off of our location. A little bit about LMU. We were founded in 1911. We are a Jesuit institution, so because of that, we are very rooted in our mission. We're founded on about 500 years of Jesuit traditions. So our mission is the encouragement of learning, the education of the whole person, and the service of faith and promotion of justice. And this is really important to us because we obviously want you to come to LMU, get a degree, get a good education. We really want you to go back to your communities and go back out in the world and make an impact. So we really are looking for change makers who want to make an impact in the communities and the future of the world. A little bit about our student population. We have a little over 10,000 students. We're a medium-sized institution, around 3,000 of those being graduate students. We have 7 different colleges, but today I'll just spotlight our Seaver College of Science and Engineering and our College of Business Administration. So as you can see there, there's a list of our engineering programs. Within our civil engineering program, we do also have environmental engineering and water resource engineering. Any of the engineering degrees can actually be paired with our MBA, and you graduate within 3 years with a dual degree, an MS and an MBA. And then you can see within our College of Business Administration, we have a wide range of different business programs, including business analytics, entrepreneurship, management, and then our MBA program. We're really proud of all of our graduates. We do have a 99% placement rate, either into a PhD program or a job after graduation. As you saw from the last screen, we do not have any PhD programs, but we do assist our students who are looking to go to get a PhD after. Since we are in that big tech hub, we have a lot of our students who go work for a lot of the aerospace companies also, so SpaceX, Boeing, Northrop Grumman. So our students do end up at really wonderful companies right in our area. And then we also do have a top 5 film school, so a lot of our students do end up working in the film industry also. A little bit about our applications. You can see the deadlines on the screen. We also are GRE optional, so that's something important to remember. We do start students in the spring, which begins in January, and then the fall, which begins in August. A little bit about our scholarship opportunities. We do have graduate and research assistantships for students who want to continue their research on campus or want to work on campus. We also have merit-based scholarships. So these are going to be scholarships that you are awarded based off the strength of your application. So when you receive your acceptance, you'll also receive your scholarship letter at the same time. And then we do participate in the SEED Scholarship Fund, and we have scholarships up to 50% of tuition in there. Thank you guys so much, and let me know if you have any questions.
Sorry, thank you so much, Emily. That was Loyola Marymount University. Next up, I'd like to invite Mark, who is representing BU or Boston University and their Graduate School of Arts and Sciences.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Kahn. I am getting over a cold, so apologies for the nasally voice. I am the Director of Master's Marketing Enrollment at Boston University's Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. Boston University is one of the larger private schools in the Boston area. It's a great place to be a student. We have over 37,000 students, of which about 18,000 are graduate students. The building that you see in the picture here is our newest addition to campus. It's our Center for Computing and Data Science. My building is right next door, which is a little more historic, if you will. But Boston University is located in the center of Boston, which is a fantastic place to be a student. You have a lot of amazing resources that are available to you. I'll highlight the Center for Career Development, which is something that I highly recommend all of our students utilize. A great place to find internships, jobs after graduation, career advice, resume critiquing, and all of those things that you might expect on many of our campuses. There are also many resources, resource centers available to you as well. So one of the things that I will remind students of is you spend as much time inside the classroom as you do outside. You need to be taking care of the social aspects of your experience as well. Some of the programs that we offer are highlighted on this slide. Our STEM programs in the master's cohort include computer science and artificial intelligence. Our economics programs are also STEM designated, and many of the sciences. We do have an engineering school. I don't work for engineering, but because I'm here with illustrious engineering colleagues, I told my colleagues at BU that I would talk about them. So we have engineering. Those are their concentrations. I'm sure they'd be happy to talk to you guys if you have questions about engineering. A little bit more about the facilities at BU. Because we are a large school that's devoted to research, we are an R1 institution. Over $500 million has gone into research so far this year at the institution. The facilities are cutting edge, state of the art. You will have access to all of those things as a student. Scholarships are available. They do range from $5,000 up to 50% tuition. We do not have full funding for master's students. There are seed scholarships available as well. Deadline, our priority deadline, and I answered in the chat a question about applying by the priority deadline. Our priority deadline usually is January 15th, and our final is typically March 15th. The benefit of applying early is that if anything is wrong with your application, we can rectify that before we send it to the committee. The later you wait, you may miss the deadline. But also we have more scholarships available in the priority rounds. So that's one of the reasons that you should definitely consider applying by the priority deadline. Happy to answer your questions. Thank you for your attention and looking forward to chatting more.
Thanks so much. That was Mark from Boston University, who is usually more energetic. He was already energetic in this one, but otherwise also he is right up there. But he is nursing a cold, so I'm sure Mark is going to be fine very soon. Next up, I'd like to invite Jenny, who's representing Columbia Engineering, and she is now on Spotlight as well. Jenny, over to you.
All right, thank you. All right, let me go ahead and get started. All right, hi everyone, welcome. Thank you all for making the time to come here today. My name's Jenny. I'm the Graduate Admissions Officer at Columbia Engineering. So happy to be here today to tell you a little bit more about Columbia Engineering. All right, I want to start off by telling you a little bit about the history of Columbia University. We were founded in 1754 as King's College. We're the oldest higher education institution in the state of New York, as well as the fifth oldest in the United States. So in 1864, the School of Mines was founded, which was our original name. We're now known as the Fu Foundation of Engineering and Applied Science. We're also home to many innovations, such as the invention of FM radio, creation of short exposure X-rays, and mass production of antibiotics. And when you see on your right-hand side is our 9 academic departments. You can read over regarding which departments we have, and I encourage you to visit our website to learn more about each and one of these departments that you're interested in. All right, moving on. A little bit about why Columbia Engineering. Obviously, we're located in New York City, which is a wonderful and a very diverse hub for a lot of different opportunities, not just jobs, but also a very unique experience. And I want to talk a little bit about our fellowships and scholarships. So at Columbia Engineering, we actually don't call scholarships, we call them fellowships. And these are just some of the fellowships we offer on the slide here. You can read over it as you wish. One of the the fellowships I want to highlight, it's called the Shardashish Interschool Fellowship, which is the third one on this list. This fellowship is specifically for students from India. So I do encourage all of you to apply to this fellowship because, who doesn't want extra money to fund their education? And lastly, I want to talk a little bit about our deadline. So our spring deadline actually just passed, but we do rolling admission, so you're welcome to still apply if you're interested in the spring entry. For the fall entry, it's a little bit different depending on your program. The deadlines can vary. So make sure once you select your program to really go on our website to really make sure the deadline and to meet it. All right. And that's it for now. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Wonderful. Here we go. Thank you so much, Jenny. That wraps up all our presentations over the next 40 to 45 minutes. We will be answering a lot of questions. Some of these questions are already prepared by us, so we'll ask some of the generic ones for the benefit of everyone, and then we'll take some of the 18 questions that are here in the Q&A tab. There are 350 plus of us, 350 plus of you in this presentation. So if you've got questions, use the Q&A tab, and we can see that some of these folks are also responding to these questions through the chat function itself. So if you've got a specific question for a specific school, this is the best time that you will be able to get their attention and get some of their answers. So less of me and more of some of the questions. I'd like to start with you, Jenny, which is the main question in a lot of the students' minds are around an ideal applicant. Could you throw some light on what are some of the key qualities that an applicant must have when they're applying to Columbia?
Yeah, of course. First thing I would say is that we want to see that there's a passion for the student. You're not just doing, engineering, say that you're interested in data science. You're not just doing data science just because your parents wants you to be a data scientist. You're doing it for yourself. So, especially in your personal statement, which is a component that you can control the most, you should highlight your passion, what got you into the passion. You shouldn't say that your parents got you into the passion, right? We want to see that you are actually someone you actually genuine about this passion. You're actually really passionate about engineering or whatever specific area you're interested in. The other thing is you should talk a little bit about, why, about the why aspect in your personal statement. A lot of schools, we see students will hand in a general personal statement for, just to on their application, which doesn't show us that you're genuine. So it's really important in order to make yourself unique, to showcase to the school that hey, I'm very genuine about the school. I believe that I'm a good fit for your school. So doing a lot of research before you apply to these schools are very important, and is what's gonna make you stand out for sure.
So be passionate, be well researched, and create a story around what this passion and how it's going to help you in your career. Um, if anyone wants to add any things to what your colleagues have said, please feel free to unmute yourself and add on. But I'll move on to you, Carrie. Carrie, in my undergrad, I did not have the best grade, right? I wasn't the most studious person. I did not have the best grades. There was too much competition. Uh, yes, it sounds like me, and it sounds like some of the 350 of us that are in this room right now. If I want to apply to NYU, what can I do in order to compensate these particular low grades that I have? Unfortunately, I'm not Harry Potter. I can't go back in time and change my grades. But in for the near future, what do you recommend candidates can do in order to have a better chance of getting an admission?
Yeah, so first, I just want to say a couple of things. I know the GPA is obviously something that students worry about the most. We get this question a lot. And I want to sort of have you understand a little bit about the application process, which is obviously your academics are going to be considered. They are going to be something that's important to us in the information that's given to us in the application, because it does let us know, are you going to be academically successful in our graduate program? But what we also consider is a lot of other things. So we're not just looking at your CGPA. We also look at your trajectory. So for example, in your first year of school, did you really struggle? Maybe you had something going on in your personal life. Maybe you struggled with the transition into university life. But as your courses got more difficult, your grades continued to improve. So your CGPA may look lower than maybe a colleague or counterpart, but maybe your grades are still you're able to show to us that you're able to understand more complex coursework. That is a good sign to us. Or maybe your trajectory is the opposite. Maybe you started off really well when the courses were a little bit easier, but as they got tougher, your grades slipped. We take those things into consideration. We also look at the type of courses that you're taking and what grades you got on those. Are they related to the program that you're applying to or not? So the CGPA isn't everything. We look at other things. So first of all, take that pressure off of yourself. Now, if you're thinking my CGPA in general just isn't that good, and how can I boost it? I know like maybe it's not as competitive as others. What I'll say is that the rest of the application, that's what it's there for. We have in the United States and at NYU is a holistic approach to the application process. We aren't just going to look at your CGPA and deny you immediately. We have students that have all sorts of GPAs that get admitted to NYU. Our base GPA that we require for students is a 3.0 out of the US 4.0 system. However, I've seen students admitted even below that. So highlighting things that you've done outside of the classroom in your resume, which we'll talk about a little bit more in the panel, that's something that you can do. Getting a recommender that can talk to us about how successful you would be in the program and how good of a fit you would be, that can help boost your profile. And then also lastly, we have the GRE as optional at NYU. The reason we have it as optional is because, again, it's not required, but if you feel like maybe you need to show us in some other context that you are able to perform academically, the GRE could help supplement with that. But I do caution you, just submitting the GRE as a test as a whole isn't going to necessarily give you an academic boost. Your scores do need to be good. We are going to be looking at the scores, so no matter what the score is, use your discernment. But if you scored really well, say in the quantitative portion, maybe you have a 168 on the quant, that could help us know, okay, they are able to do the coursework even though their CGPA is a little lower.
Wonderful. So don't worry, universities, if you have a lower GPA to start off with, universities have a holistic process at admissions, not just one factor. If low GPA does not mean no admission, if you have done something extraordinary, like a good GRE score. And talking about GRE, Kat, I want to understand from you a little bit about this test. Some some universities or some programs have GRE mandatory. Some of them have it optional, right? What is the meaning of optional? How do universities look at GRE? Is a good GRE score also a good, you know, will it also improve scholarship opportunities for students? Can you throw some light on whether students should take this GRE exam or not?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, what I would say is that in terms of terminology, it's always good to clarify what the institution that you're applying to. But typically, if the application requirements are saying that the GRE is required, that means it is mandatory. This is something you are going to be required to submit to complete your application. And if you are missing that test score, your application will remain incomplete. It will not move forward in the application review process. If the institution says that the scores are optional, that means that, as Carrie was just saying, it's fully up to you to decide whether or not you want the admissions officers and the faculty to see your GRE test scores. So, like Carrie was saying, just submitting them isn't enough. It's really going to be dependent on how, exemplary are those scores? Are they, impressive? Are they good? Are they higher than what we typically see in our admitted students who submit those scores? And those are questions you can ask the school you're applying to. But if you're submitting middling or even not good GRE scores, that can actually harm your application, because when we say optional, think of it this way. If you submit an application with no GRE test scores, but everything else, it'll be complete, we'll move forward. The GRE just becomes nothing about, it's not involved in the conversation. If you do submit those GRE scores when it's optional, we are going to look at them. It becomes part of the review process. It becomes part of the overall requirements that we are considering for admission. And then if a school says that the GRE is not required, it's always good to clarify with them if that means that if you submit those scores, will they look at them, or do they truly mean not required, not considering, it's not going to make a difference? Those are all good questions to ask. I would say, in terms of whether or not it impacts scholarship decisions, if it's required or optional, and then certainly it will become part of the review process. It will become part of the overall things that the faculty and the admissions department are looking at to determine whether you're admissible and whether you're a competitive applicant who should receive a scholarship. So I hope that clears up the terminology. I know it can be a little confusing.
It does. It does. So the best thing is to ask if it's optional. You should really ask some of the benefits of why you should take the GRE score. And, each university will have, some information about the average GRE score, so on and so forth. So you can use events like these to ask, the admission folks about, um, you know, any kind of questions, including the GRE. Mark, talking about these kind of events, I know you guys at Boston University and all these wonderful universities on campus, in this meeting, have a lot of admission related events. The admission team actually has so many resources for prospective students. Some of them are just not known to prospective students. Could you throw some light on what are some of these resources that prospective students could use, that you guys have at BU, or if you've seen any such best practices for, let's say Indian students that are looking to apply to the US?
Absolutely. I think I speak for all of my colleagues when I say our websites are the best place to find information for all of the events that are upcoming. You can also sign up for our newsletters. You can sign up for our emails. I know you probably have a ton of email that you already ignore. However, it's the best way that we have available to us to actually communicate with students, read them. We have everything from statement of purpose workshops, specific information sessions on the programs, not just general ones. So if you're debating amongst 3 or 4 or 5 different programs at BU, for instance, it would be advisable to attend each of those, and then you can get a much better sense of the program that you're signing up for. We also have a lot of resources available to students in terms of connecting with our alum and connecting with current students. So check out our websites, check out our contact us pages. We also have a live chat available on the BU website, for instance. So if you have a quick question, something that you don't necessarily want to put an email because it will take us a while, we do get a lot of email inquiries. You can feel free to do a live chat with us as well. So many resources are available. Definitely check out our websites, sign up for our newsletters, sign up for texts if you are so inclined, just so you can stay on top of all of the things that are available to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So, do look at the website and do look at so many of these resources the admission teams have for you, be it connecting with current students, be it with alumni, for you to get deeper understanding about the program that you're looking to do and any bit of career opportunities. Talking about career opportunities, Emily, when you are applying to the US, you come across some of these terms: CPT, OPT, STEM designation. Could you give us a very quick, brief masterclass about what are the meanings of these terms: CPT, OPT, STEM designation, and what are some of the benefits for international students, if you don't mind?
So I'm actually going to pass this to Kat, our professional on on everything CPT and OPT.
Wonderful, Kat. Thank you. I thought I should bring this question to you because over the last few years, you've been the lead as to any questions around CPT, OPT, STEM designation, please.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer this question. So, as international students, if you decide to come to the United States to pursue your graduate studies, you will most likely study on what's known as an F1 non-immigrant student visa. So, what that process actually looks like is that after you apply to your universities, you receive your admissions decisions, you actually accept one of those offers. You and that institution will work together to submit all of the necessary documents to receive a Form I-20. This is a legal government documentation with all of your biographic, programmatic, financial, and school information. And you will actually use that I-20 to apply for your F1 visa at your local US embassy or consulate. So everyone chiming in from India today, you're very lucky. There are several options, several locations in India to do this interview. Hopefully after you submit that and go through that process, you receive your F1 visa and you're allowed to come to the United States. What that means when you get that F1 visa is that you and the US government are entering into an agreement about what your main purpose is for being in the United States, right? It is to be a student. It's to go to classes, do your homework, talk to professors, pass your exams, and eventually get a diploma. So what that means is that there are going to be some restrictions and limitations put in place as to when and where and how long you can work. So typically during the first year of your program, you are not allowed to work off campus. You can work in on-campus jobs like in the library or the gym or an administrator's office, but you can't go do that fun internship at Google that you're really hoping for. Not yet, because you need to wait for 1 full year in your program typically before you become eligible for CPT, curricular practical training. And CPT is the thing that legally allows you to actually work off campus to get that work experience during your program in your field of study. During the school year, you are limited to part-time work, which is 20 hours a week. But during the summer breaks or any other school break, you can work more than part-time. You work 40, 60, 80 hours. No one will stop you. You can suffer if you want. That's okay. And you can get that hands-on experience during your program. After you graduate is when you become eligible for something known as OPT, optional practical training. That is the legal status on your F1 visa that lets you stay in the United States, still on that student visa, getting work experience in your field of study, getting that practical hands-on resume building, everything that you're looking for. No matter your program, everyone is eligible for 12 months of OPT, 1 full year beyond graduation. But some students in select STEM programs actually have the opportunity to stay beyond that 1 year. You actually can stay for an additional 24 months, so a total of 3 years of work experience in the US, getting that opportunity before you ever need to decide whether you want to move to Germany or start a PhD program or talk to your employer about a work sponsorship or anything like that. So I know it's a little complicated. I hope that I made it a little bit better to understand, and we're always happy to answer more questions about that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That was such a nice nicely worded explanation about these complicated terms. You can, spend 2 hours reading about this on the internet, or you can listen to 5 minutes of Catherine talking about these, and you should be ready to go. Emily, coming back to you, let's learn a little bit about your tips on applications, SOPs. What are some of the good practices? Could you also throw some light on things you've seen and you were like, I wish this was not there in part of the application? Some of the best practices for students when writing their SOP for the matter.
Yeah, of course. So the statement of purpose is very important in the application process because it's really the only item, unless there's an interview, where we get to actually hear from you. Out of all the different items, you get test scores, you get GPAs, transcripts, and those are all just like documents and letters of rec, which aren't written by you, they're written by other people. So your statement of purpose is really the only way for you to show us your passion, your personality, your goals, and why you want to come to our university. So it is really important to take time to focus on this statement of purpose. Um, Typically, the school will let you know if it's like a general statement of purpose or if there's specific questions or topics you have to speak on. So definitely take the time to look at all the websites and see what the actual statement of purpose needs to be about. That's also very important. Sometimes everyone will just submit a general one and we're like, oh, we actually had a really specific question. You didn't answer it. So make sure you do that. Let us know a little bit about yourself. Don't make it a generic one. We know there's like templates for what you're supposed to say. Make it actually about yourself. Tell us what your personal story is, why you want to get this degree, maybe an experience in life that has led you to want to get this degree, pursue this career. So definitely take the time to personalize it. Also, we see this all the time. So I work for Loyola Marymount University. We're not Loyola Maryland. I'm not Loyola Chicago. We get personal statements that say, I can't wait to go to Loyola Chicago all the time. And I know that you obviously didn't take the time to read what school you're applying to. We're not the same schools. So really take the time to make it focus on the school you're applying to, because when we see that, that is a pretty big negative. We know you really aren't that interested in our school. So definitely take the time to rewrite them for each school, depending on what they're interested in and what the name of their school is too.
Superb. So do read about tips that universities give about writing your SOPs, because that could be make or break, and you want to put in some time into these things. Mark, uh, 2024 is a big year, not just uh, in the US, but also elsewhere. In India, as you know, we just had our elections. We had, new things come about. US is going into elections over the next, couple of months. That's going to be an interesting phase. We cannot predict anything. If we could predict stuff, then we know a lot more than what the general public knows. But Mark, in India, there's a concept known as placements. After you finish an engineering degree, a lot of universities offer placement services. 25 people from this class have been hired at this company. I know that's not the same in the US. In the US, there are career services opportunities. Could you try and throw some light on what are some of the resources that help students prepare to get into the job market? And being in higher education for so long, how these elections could take it for international students. What is your take on what could happen for international students when they're applying for jobs, regardless of what the election says?
Great question. I was trying to anticipate where the question was going to go. So I'm glad that's where we landed. You're totally right. We don't know. We can't predict anything about the election. What I will say though is, regardless of the outcome, we have at least some experience with what a presidency could look like, either under Trump or Kamala Harris. So regardless of your political provocation and where your vote will end up if you are in the US, we're prepared for both outcomes. And we've always supported our international students. I think the Trump presidency and, just factual information also witnessed some of the biggest drops in international student populations, but we also faced COVID during that presidency. So I think there's a lot to be said about what's unknown. However, there are a lot of lessons that were learned during that initial presidency so that we're prepared. There also is something in the US, and I think this is very big in India as well, where certain states have their own identity, their own unique charm, their own laws, and certainly their own voting records. We're all from pretty liberal states and places that have laws on the books to protect not just our own students, but our international students as well. So look at how welcoming the environment is. And I understand there's a lot of trepidation when it comes to, well, what's the job market going to look like if we're kicking out people who we just gave degrees to? We are still economically driven as a country. Capitalism is still our politics, regardless of how we would like to pretend that it's not. So we will still have job opportunities available for students, and talented students will still fare very well in the job market. That's been the record as well. That being said, we also advise our students to look outside of the US. Look at your your home countries. Look at other countries abroad too. Pardon me. A lot of companies are multinational conglomerates. I have colleagues who have been transferred from a Boston office to a London office. I have friends who have seen their relationships blossom outside of our borders, and they have picked up their lives and moved and worked for companies there. So what I'm saying is cast a wide net. The US is still an amazing place to gain experience. It's one of the benefits of having a STEM degree in the US. However, the wider your net, the more opportunities you will probably have in terms of your search. And to answer the other part of your question, there's so many resources available. We don't have placement, but we empower our students to do very well. And all of the universities represented today have amazing rates and amazing success when it comes to getting our students jobs. However, this is where we flip the onus onto the student. It's our responsibility to introduce you to those opportunities. It's yours to seize them. So attend the events from our career services folks. Go to interview strategy meetings, do mock interviews with a professional on staff. They're there to support you, but they're not going to hand anything to you on a silver platter.
Perfect. I think Mark covered it brilliantly about that there are resources, and even though whatever happens in the elections, the U.S. higher education system is well prepared for whichever way this sways. Jenny, we'd like to understand a little more about the application process. We have covered, tips around the SOP, but we'd like to learn a little more about the letters of recommendation, any tips on the resume that students have to submit, and some universities have interview processes, some don't. But if you'd like to share some tips around interviews as well. So I'm trying to cover a little bit around letters of recommendation, resume, and interview. All these are part of the Q&A tab, which is why I'd like to try and get all of them together. So Jenny?
Yeah, of course. And let me start with the letters of recommendation, because I did see a long question in the Q&A about it. So regarding the letters of recommendation, every school requires a different amount of numbers. So make sure you do check their website to check that exact number and what kind. So at Columbia Engineering, we require 3 letters of recommendation, 2 academic and 1 professional. So the academic letters, let me start with that, are letters that's going to come from your professors who directly taught you in class, whereas a professional one should come from your direct supervisor or manager at work or internship, for those of you who might be still be an undergrad, or even your research lab manager, such like that. So when choosing someone to write your letters of recommendation, you should really choose someone that really knows you. A lot of students fall in the pitfall of, oh, I want to find someone with a high title. This will impress the admissions committee. It won't if the letter is only 2 sentences. I've seen plenty of letters from professors that just wrote, he's a good student. He got an A in my class. That doesn't really give us any new information, correct? We can see that from your transcript that you're an A+ student, but we want to know more about you. So the letters of recommendation is really a place where your professors can really vouch for you regarding your strengths, your personality, and how, you'll be a good fit for our school. And then let me talk a little bit about the resume. The resume is really somewhere where you can put your, past and present experience that's relevant to the program you're applying to, whether that be internship, whether that be research, whether that be extracurricular activities, those leadership clubs you're in, only leadership positions you've been in, and even projects you've done. Obviously, you want to make sure they're relevant to the program you're applying to. You wouldn't want to put like an art competition award in your resume, right? This is not relevant to engineering. And I'd say like when you're doing your resume, keep it under 2 pages. No one wants to read a 10-page resume or CV. We don't really have time for that, correct? And then lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the interviews. So again, every school is going to be different regarding like an interview. Some schools offer it, some schools don't. For Columbia University or Columbia Engineering specifically, we require a mandatory video interview for all our master's applicant. So let me talk a little bit about that because I'm sure some of you are curious. It's a short 3-minute video interview. You have 3 minutes to answer all 3 questions, but these questions are all behavioral questions, nothing technical. So you don't really have to prepare anything for it. It's just a way for us to get a little bit more about, a sense of your personality, see if you're a good fit again, and to really, for, international students, to see if you all have the right English proficiency skills to really succeed in a US classroom. So, some of the questions might be, what's your favorite color? Really questions that you don't have to prepare for. And some tips when, doing your video interview is not write out a script. It's very obvious when we see students put in the questions in, ChatGPT. I know AI is a great tool, but please don't use it during your interview. It's really, really obvious when we see students read from a screen or directly from a screen. It's just not professional and it would really hurt your application. So just don't do it. All right. And interviews for PhDs, at least for Columbia Engineering, it's offered by invitation only. I'm sure that's true for my counterparts and my colleagues here as well. So yeah, I hope that clears up some of the confusion for you all.
It does. Thank you so much, Jenny. That was really insightful. We just covered a little bit about letters of recommendation, resume, and interviews. Thanks so much, Jenny. Carrie, there's a question, a lot of questions, and I'm sure this is also something that you've heard time and time again. Can you throw some light on the different funding opportunities that universities have? One is scholarships, obviously. Could you throw some light on what is teaching assistantships and research assistantships and how can they contribute from a funding perspective? Could you throw some light on different avenues for funding for a prospective student?
Yeah, I think a lot of times students aren't aware of all of the opportunities that are available to them to think about financing your education. So a lot of students think I need to find an institution that gives me full funding for scholarship. If they don't, I cannot attend. That might actually be the case for you specifically, but a lot of times there are additional things that students can do to supplement things outside of scholarships. Typically, universities at the master's level, it's very rare to give full scholarships at the master's level. So you'll notice that across a wide variety of institutions in the United States. So you may be thinking, how are students affording this? So first and foremost, of course, some institutions do provide some form of scholarship, whether it is a full scholarship for the tuition or not, or a partial scholarship like NYU does. Again, this is at the master's level. At the PhD level, that can vary from school or university to university. At NYU, for example, all of our PhDs are actually fully funded. So our PhDs don't need to worry about that, but that is something that master's students do need to be thinking about. So for those master's students, Again, there are additional opportunities. So outside of the scholarships that the university provide you, there are of course outside scholarships. So the Seed themselves actually have their own scholarship as well. So that's something to look into. There are scholarships that are there for international students, for students that are interested specifically from India, for example. Maybe you're a woman in STEM. That's a scholarship opportunity you can look into. So there's things outside of the university that you'll need to take initiative on to search for. Within the university, you may also hear of things called research assistantships, teaching assistantships, and sometimes things called graduate assistantships. Each university will have different ways that they offer those opportunities to students. They're basically, in essence, jobs on campus that you would get paid for with different sorts of responsibilities. At NYU, teaching and graduate or teaching assistantships and research assistantships only go to our PhD students, but I know at other institutions that can be open for master's students. However, at NYU, we have something called graduate assistantships, which are again other on-campus jobs. So on-campus employment in whatever capacity that looks like at whatever institution you may be applying to could be a way for you to have additional money coming in to support yourself while you're having living expenses costs, things like that, or to go towards your tuition. And then finally, a lot of things that students overlook is looking into loan opportunities for covering the rest of your tuition cost. That is something that I think sometimes scares students, thinking, I don't want to go into debt to go to school. It's extremely common in the United States for students to take out student loans. What's important for you to consider is, am I taking out a loan that I can pay back with the degree that I am getting? So thinking about your return on investment. For example, most of the students at NYU's Tandon School of Engineering graduate and get employed within 6 months. About 96-97% of our students do. And most of the students are making six-figure salaries when they do graduate. So thinking about being able to pay back that student loan becomes a lot easier when you're thinking about that. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. Just make sure you're doing your research on what opportunities are available for you, and then thinking about what makes the most sense for your budget and your means. And again, thinking about what that means for your investment and then your return on that investment when you graduate.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Carrie. She spoke a lot about research assistant, RAs and TAs. She also spoke about scholarship opportunities while you apply. She spoke specifically about NYU and a little bit general, but what I recommend is you go onto every university's website and they will have some advice around financial aid for students as well. Um, uh, Catherine, there are questions around work experience. Now, I know that a lot of university programs don't have work experience mandatory, and I know that we are coming close to the hour, so this is one of my final questions. There is no mandatory work experience requirements, yet there are some people that come into programs with a year and a half worth of work experience. Could you just, showcase a little bit about the importance of work experience? Is this program mostly for freshers as well, or do you recommend, trying to get some industry experience before coming into the program?
Yeah, so what I would say to that question is that graduate school in the United States is going to reflect a wide variety of students, a wide diverse variety in terms of where they're from, how old they are, what their work experience history looks like. And all of those paths are totally valid. It's actually just about what you want to do, what you're interested in, what you're passionate about. If you are in your final year right now and you know that you want to go get a graduate degree, you know that you want to go continue your education, that's what you want to do right now. Nobody is going to stop you and tell you that you have to go get work experience unless you're applying to a specific program where that is required. So examples of that I can think of are probably like if you want an MBA in the future, those degrees are typically going to be looking for several years of work experience to know that you have practical hands-on experience. But universities are never trying to hide requirements from you. We're never keeping a secret list of what we're actually looking for that we don't tell you. We will be very upfront with you if work experience is a mandatory requirement of the program. So if you have a doubt, if you're concerned, please reach out to our offices and ask us directly if that's something that we require for you to be admissible to the program. And we'll clarify that for you easily. But otherwise, if you don't know what you want to do right now, or you want to get that work experience and have that experience before you apply to grad school, that's also okay. Everybody's individual path is going to look a little different. And really, what it's going to impact is your own individual application and how you shape that narrative. So I know we talked a little bit about the statement of purpose, we talked about letters of recommendation, your resume. Work experience is just going to impact what that overall profile looks like when you submit that application. Maybe you have an employer writing you a letter of recommendation. Maybe what you did in your work experience really shapes what you want to go on and do in your graduate studies, and you can talk about that in your statement of purpose. But again, if you don't want to do that, that's okay. At GW, and I think a few of our other schools represented today, we also allow students to apply for PhD directly out of undergrad. So you don't need to have a bachelor's degree to do that application right now. So there are lots of different paths of what you could take, and it's really just going to be dependent on what you feel is the best path forward for you right now.
Got it. Wonderful. Thanks so much for that, Catherine. What we've also done is I'm going to quickly resend you some information about the Seed Scholarship Fund, like Carrie was mentioning, that if you are looking to finance your education and plan for your master's in 2025, this is what you should also use and apply to. There were some more questions, but we are bang on time. It is 8 o'clock here in India. We had blocked 1 hour for each and every one of us. Before I let just before we close this session, one last piece of advice from each of the panelists to the folks here, something that we might not have covered so far. One last piece of advice in 1 or 2 lines about what your recommendation to prospective students applying to the program. Carrie, would you like to go first on your last piece of advice, please?
Yeah, I always just tell students, have confidence in yourself. We're not looking for, a student that fits into all these particular boxes that are just based on numbers. We're looking for unique students with unique experiences that can add to the educational environment to our institutions and that are going to be a good fit to our programs. So I always tell students, like, never count yourselves out of something. If you're really passionate about something, that comes through in your application. So make sure that you're highlighting the things that you're interested in and what you want to do. And don't say, oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to get into that institution, so I'm just not going to apply. If you're really passionate about that, apply. Have the courage to do it. Let our admissions team and our faculty decide whether you're admitted into the program. Don't make that decision for yourself. You never know what's going to happen. So follow what you want to follow, and have the confidence to put your application out there.
Super. Thank you so much. Jenny?
Yes, I'd say start early. I'm sure a lot of you here are not seniors yet in your fourth years yet in your undergrad. So start early, especially when it comes to, your letters of recommenders. Go and build relationship with them. Go talk to them during after class. I don't know if you all have office hours, but meet up with them, have a little coffee chat, tell them a little bit about yourself and tell them that, hey, I'm trying to go and, get a graduate degree, maybe in the US. So really build that relationship so that in the future, when you do ask them, they're gonna say, yes, definitely. And they'll write you a beautiful letters of recommendation.
Superb. So start early. Emily, any tips?
My biggest piece of advice is to do whatever you want to do. Don't do what your parents tell you. Don't do what your family expects you to do. Do what you're actually excited about. I know we didn't touch on it today, but a lot of students might have a bachelor's degree in computer science and they want to go into civil engineering. Make that switch if you want to. Don't just stay with one area because that's what you've always known. End up getting your master's in whatever you're actually interested in and what you're passionate about, because it is the rest of your lives we're talking about here. So definitely make the decision based off yourself and your own interests.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. Do what you would love to do yourself. Mark, any last tips from you?
I would say stay curious, but also use Google, because a lot of the questions that you will put in email we will Google and send you responses to. But if there are things that are unclear on our websites or things that you are still curious about after using the resources available to you, reach out with those. Even though we don't keep track of students and the emails that they ask, we do sometimes remember names and not always for the best reasons. So certainly do your research, reach out to us when your research has hit a wall that you can't break through.
Thank you so much for that. Catherine, to sum it up.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to plug a resource that is available to all of you. It is Education USA, which is connected to the United States Department of State. They are there to help students such as yourselves who are interested in studying abroad and in the United States specifically. Um, a lot of schools can't connect directly with students like yourselves, but they can send information to Education USA. They can promote scholarships that you might not otherwise know about. And Education USA is also there to help prepare you for the visa process. If you have any questions, they can sometimes bring consular officers for webinars such as this, and meet with you one-on-one to maybe do some interview prep. In India specifically, they are called USIEF, United States India Education Foundation. They're also connected to Education USA. I know there are some other people from Ghana and Nepal in here, so I wanted to plug both names. The organization is really helpful. So if you know you want to study in the US, they are a wonderful resource to keep in mind.
Superb. Education USA, or in India, USIEF. That's something you should also look at. And, last plug on the scholarships, in case the 240 of you are looking to apply in fall of 2025 or before that, this is a great time for you to apply for scholarships, because the round 2 deadline is coming up in less than 20 days from now. 15th November is the round 2 deadline. I'd like to take this opportunity. I know we've gone 5 minutes over time, but to the really wonderful group of people that we've been joined here today, from NYU Tandon Carey, Columbia University, Jenny, Emily from Loyola Marymount, Mark from Boston University, and Catherine from George Washington Engineering. Thank you so much. You've patiently answered 60 plus questions and spoken to 400 plus wonderful people. Thank you so much, you guys. And we will be in touch, and you will hear from a lot of these students in the near future. Thanks so much, and have a good rest of the day. Bye.